So in that case, we're gonna move on to our next cryptid, Skinwalkers.
Right. So I was chatting with both of you about this before. There's the I guess the arguments for Skinwalkers, as far as I understand it, is that whether it's a cryptid, it's considered a cryptid or not. I would have to err on the side of, I guess, um, the mythological beliefs, or rather associations that it has to actual people. That is to say, it's I believe Navajo shaman, Navajo witches of some sorts. That they're real people that can shapeshift, as opposed to actual,
Well, I mean,
fucking
isn't it
animal
also
that's-
like some of the lore around Skinwalker Ranch where there was a curse put on the land, which I'm not sure if that was supposed to make more Skinwalkers or it was the initial curse of the Skinwalker or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if I would classically put these into the cryptid category.
I still thought it was obviously worth mentioning, because as we go through Texas Cryptid, it's everybody fucking lists it on here. Skinwalkers. So it's like, okay, cool. It's worth going through, but in the same sense, like I'd have to, I don't necessarily think it falls into the cryptid category. It'd be more of a, supernatural kind of.
Yeah, because this is a human being that has been transformed into this.
Some kind of,
and I guess arguably werewolves. No, so it might be like a type of.
Yes, there is. We do have a little honorable mention in here as well that I believe it was in Concord, Texas, and it might have been another sighting in the 70s or some such. I don't remember. I need to look for it, but a lot of it, I think, would fall under the association of a Skinwalker type sighting. But
Well, I mean,
it's hard to say
that would make sense for Texas, because I mean, a lot of the people here have some kind of Native American.
Right.
Well,
Yes,
there are Native Americans still living in Texas, and not too far off into like Oklahoma and stuff like that. So like it would be
right. And then
it would make
like
sense that those particular cryptids would
and
be
it's
over here.
right abutting, the Four Corners areas, which the fucking New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, where you're supposed to, where the primary sightings of Skinwalkers are reported. So yeah, it's not out of the question, I would say, to find that kind of stuff here either. What is it? Where is it specifically? Northwest Texas, that people are purportedly having these.
Where's DeSoto, Texas? Where's that at?
I have no idea.
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
It's the hill country, so that's like El Paso, fucking,
Do you think that most cryptids in general keep themselves in the hill country primarily because of maybe it has more opportunities to hide, more opportunities to kind of
they're more likely to be
burrow
left
themselves into
alone?
like certain crevices?
DeSoto is right outside of Arlington.
Okay.
Yeah, Arlington.
So that's in
actually,
the
there was
Dallas
some-
area.
So, Roland, the characteristics of a skinwalker can pretty much anything in this case, right? It can shapeshift. Into
Right,
any
so
sort
this
of
could be
animal.
another case of a fucking duende. It's some kind of.
But
It varies.
Or
They
a
can stand up.
lechusa.
Yeah, or
Right.
Because
That's
like,
true.
is a lechusa an actual cryptid, or is it
It's supposed
someone
to be
that's
a witch that
undergoing
shapeshifts,
transformation?
right?
yeah.
Which,
through supernatural means.
So yeah, there's a quite a few solid associations there. I would say between like the lechusas and the skinwalkers, which would make sense if you just going by like the association of a culture, Mexican culture, Native American cultures. It's essentially they're parallels to each other, cousins, sort of thing. So maybe this is just another example of that overlap that we've come across as far as some of these distinctions that they're trying to make between them. I don't know, but it's super interesting. I come across a lot of different descriptions of skinwalkers. I I don't know that I'd be the best to make some of like their general descriptions. Ray, could you maybe or Daniel take a crack at that?
You basically said most of that, Roland. I mean, as far as like me looking at certain descriptions of a skinwalker, they can be pretty much anything.
Can you maybe try to like summarize some of the more general descriptions just to?
Well,
because I don't think I did a good job.
They look like coyotes and
yeah, it's kind of like dog-ish looking
kind of
dudes for the
cane-
most part, as far
almost
as like their
werewolf-like,
transformed form. Yeah, like a reverse werewolf where you become like just like the wolf instead of like a hybrid human wolf like thing
that can stand on two legs.
In fact, just looking at the legend here, it says like animals associated with witchcraft usually include tricksters such as the coyote. However, it may include other creatures, usually those associated with death or bad omens. They might also possess living animals or people and walk around in their bodies, and skinwalkers may be male or female. And again, you talk about like the Navajo tribes and stuff like that. That's usually where they stem from. But associated types of cryptids, so to speak, the deer woman. We talked about even a warlock and a werewolf. Skinwalker could almost be like you said, like almost duende.
Like
they can shapeshift
of the Navajo.
They
like
can do
it's
all these types of
basically
things.
some sort of shaman or witch, bruja or curandero kind of stuff. There's a lot of, I don't know, what seem to be a lot of association, or they seem to have quite a few things in common.
Do you want to go? I want to go over like the Reddit posts that we found, which is I guess an account, the Skinwalker or other entity, which is again someone determining whether or not it is actually a skinwalker or something other kind of cryptid. But I'll read this part here. It says, this happened when I was 10 years old in Texas. We had gone out to a family party in DeSoto, Texas. It was probably close to about 3 in the morning. Again, 3 in the morning. This is that time again.
The witching hour.
All the adults were inside talking and drinking, as they should if you're at a Mexican party with children.
Mm-hmm.
While the kids were out in the backyard playing in the bounce house that was ordered.
Yeah.
Dude, can they have a bouncy house overnight? I don't recall that. They usually pick it up like around 7 or 8.
Yeah, that's true.
A bit into the fun we were having, we
Uh-huh.
started noticing a strange smell, which I would now consider the smell of sulfur. Usually associated with like the devil or some kind of demon entity.
Typically, yep.
When one of my cousins had pointed out a goat near the fence in the field just watching us. So being kids, we all get up against the little net to see it. Now the strange thing about it was the way it let its mouth hang open and how it was standing in the tall grass with its legs wobbling like he was going to fall, just staring at us. So we all decided to go for a closer look, not thinking much of it. And that's when it got even weirder, when the goat started making what sounded like excited grunts. And when we got near to the fence, it let out a human-like but very distorted yell that sounded like it had its own echo, and it bolted for the fence on its hind legs, and its front legs loose bouncing around as it ran.
Mm-hmm.
So it stood up on two legs, right? Basically.
Yeah. So it was like bounding around like a goon.
So we all screamed and ran inside, and some of our parents heard us scream and met us at the back door and were able to see it run off into the tall grass, letting out the same yell. Upon telling everyone what had happened, our grandparents were convinced it was an evil spirit and began saying prayers and flicking holy water around the house.
I thought that was fucking hilarious. Yeah.
Considering they were Catholic with very strong beliefs, and our drunk uncles and fathers went out with guns looking for
There it is.
There it is.
Exactly.
Dude, I've been to this party. What's going on? Like, that's kind of what happened when my mom and my aunt saw the lechuza in my aunt's backyard in the pool and shit. There was no holy water, just a lot of cussing though. But they were drunk.
Guns. There's guns.
And it says, and shortly after everyone came home, everyone decided it was time to go home. What was it, fucking 5 in the morning by now?
Right. I see the sun rising. All right, pack it up.
And a few weeks later, my grandparents decided to move because they also began hearing something shaking the fence in the middle of the night or grunting, and what sounded like something choking, moving around the backyard, and an occasional knocking on the walls. Anyways, that's it for the story back then. I never knew about things like skinwalkers and such, and for the longest time I was convinced it was a demon or the devil in disguise, since that was what my grandparents and aunties claimed it was. what do you guys think of this? And it said, no, we did. There was an edit to this story. No, we
Yeah.
didn't just arrive at 3 a.m. We had been there since 5 p.m.
People always have to ask stupid fucking questions. Just to clarify.
With all of these like Reddit creepypasta-esque sounding things, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I automatically they talk about how this happened when I was 10. This happened, you
Yep.
know, 30 years ago. I'm like, well, fuck
Always.
you. You have no credibility anymore.
Exactly.
Like, you know,
It's like, oh yeah, 10 years ago in Texas.
I mean, unless they can find someone without discussing it ahead of time that corroborate this exact
Yeah.
story, then I would like probably give it more credence. Seems like a typical Mexican gathering that I've been to plenty of
Pachanga
times.
time, baby.
I mean, I've been outside in my front. I recounted the story whenever we did the ghost school, the haunted schools episode. Whenever I was outside with my cousins and we're all playing hide and go seek in the front yard, and it was about 3-ish in the morning. My uncles were drunk. My aunts were inside watching TV still, and of course, we had a barbecue that particular evening, and that's when we heard that noise coming from across the street from the school.
yeah.
And I was the only one that heard this. Many other people heard this, but the thing is, a lot of people who I remember being there, and a lot of instances that I recall, like those people don't remember any of that stuff. But I mean, my life was pretty boring, so that could have been a pinnacle moment in my life, and then I'm just another fucking weekend fucking around. So they just forgot about it. No issues. But in my mind, it got burnt. So.
Sure.
But anywho, that is a story of a skinwalker. And then some of these comments were, someone suggested it could possibly have been a goatman cryptid, the name of
Right.
which I can't recall.
One
which is
fun
Goatman.
little thing that I don't know if we'd mentioned it before, but one of the comments was that like they were pretty specific, saying about how not all the skinwalkers run on 2 legs. Sometimes they run on 4. And then he actually he gave a name for the ones that run on 4, and I'm gonna butcher this horribly, but I assume this is Native American. I don't know what Native American language it would be. If it's the Navajo, sure, but it's the Yenalushi ones that move on all 4s. The guy said these are people who aren't necessarily raised like you or I. They are raised to skinwalk. And then he drops that name and then mentions about how, not all of them can run on all 4s, as some are recruited as adults, which that's where I'm just like, but oddly specific. So that's still kind of interesting. There are a lot of fun little comments that you can find in all sorts of places. A lot of these I've actually seen linked or reposted on, personal blogs and those kinds of things. The Texas Cryptid Hunter guy has some of those. The Lon Strickler as well has sent a few links to because this is off of the subreddit r Skinwalkers, and if anyone wants to check it out themselves.